Hi everyone, this is Koji again from Celestial Rhythms. Well, it's about the dam in China. There's really high probability that this dam will collapse, and it could be as early as August the 9th or the 10th in China. It will be early morning. Everything points to that, and I show you the whole story here. I try to explain you what I have seen. So already 2008 it was said, actually there were engineers walking out of the job saying this was way too dangerous, that this dam was really a ticking time bomb. And this is an excellent video which gives you a bit of the background story. This one was put out just in June. That's actually showing the dam from above. This was a picture from 2008. Shows you a straight line here on Google Earth, and here you can see, I don't know if you can see it from this angle, there is a big dent here in this area and in this area. So the dam has moved already in 2018, and just recently the Chinese authorities have admitted that yes, the dam has deformed. However, they say only millimeters and very slightly. So anyway, this is a huge concern, as there are about 400 million people living downstream from that dam, and all these people's lives are definitely seriously in danger. So this is a urgent call for evacuation I'm putting out here. I hope it reaches at least some people to be able to get to safety, because that biblical thing happens, that big collapse which will throw not just China but certainly the whole world into a panic mode. This will have huge repercussions, such a disaster that's never seen before of that magnitude. So I was interested in seeing the chart of that dam, and I did find in Google, in Wikipedia I should say, the construction date of, well, the start of the construction, December 14, 1994. And I didn't have a time naturally, but I figured out a very good moment in that day would be the Sun Mercury upper conjunction. Here you see it at 2153 Sag. Why I chose the Mercury Sun conjunction, that's when Mercury was exactly behind the Sun. So this is the beginning of a new idea, of a new intention was set on that day. That's what made me choose that moment. So interesting too that just one day later, December 15th, 1994, the HARP project in Alaska was started. Found it quite eerie, to be honest. And if you just now listen, you will see what special alignments there were around that time. There was a separating Jupiter-Pluto conjunction, which actually, if we look into heliocentric astrology, was still applying. That means it was not perfect yet from heliocentric point of view. That's kind of the main thing here, with the black moon on the other side already shows the seed of that big catastrophe. You can definitely see that even more so with the Mars square, Mars-Jupiter. Mars-Pluto square is most exactly to Jupiter. Mars-Jupiter square, that is powerful energies which are in conflict with each other. It's really they couldn't have chosen a worse moment to initiate this project. So what further stands out in this chart is these three bodies up here, actually Theros, Nessus, opposed by Chaos. Nessus, that's the bad boy, that's the energy which is about abuse and all the ugly things. Theros is excessive energy, it's the energy of a bear who's showing its force. Chaos is another trans-Neptunian object which is connected to, as its name says, to the, let me see, I kind of try to phrase that out a little bit if I find it right here. It's the churning forces, right? It's also the unpredictable which is invoked here. And the idea is that disintegration allows for a new order. So it's the reshuffling of all the components, energies. Now Ceres here is squaring, T-squaring these forces. So this is another indication. Ceres is the powers, the energies of the earth, also harnessing the energies of earth, which water power is one form of. Okiroi is always speeding up, making things bigger, faster, more dynamic. So this is a grand square that's interesting in itself. Now, what struck me, I have also done a few videos on Neowise, the comet, how the comet's emergence and its major charts fits in with this DAMS chart. So I had another view at the comet's discovery chart, and sure enough, it's amazing how this chart is seeming to indicate some major disaster too, some major shift, awakening, and it's possible that we need such a powerful strike, something so magnanimous to wake up as a humanity, that we are together, one unit in the same boat, so to say, that we all have to work together, support each other. What stands out particularly is that the sun, when the comet was found, was exactly opposing the Chinese sun, C746 Libra, and this again is the comet's birth chart, if you want, 729 Aries, and that close black moon sun conjunction with Chiron. And look at the midheaven, 2156 Aquarius. Look at the construction start chart for the dam, 21 Aquarius. And those of you who followed my podcasts know that when the comet was closest to Earth, it was at 21 degrees Leo. If we quickly go back to the chart here of the comet's discovery, which kind of gives us the story, how it will impact us, what it will bring. And comets always are harbingers of something, always of some evolutionary new door opening, going into new direction. What certainly haunts me here in this chart, after I had a closer look in this context, is again Nessus with Mercury exactly T-squaring the ascendant descendant. There's Huya and there's Orcus, all trans-Neptunian Kuiper belt objects Nessus is a centaur. Nessus again about difficulties, challenges, famines, and all kinds of disasters. It's a very ugly energy in itself. So we should really brace ourselves for some difficult experiences in the next months. This is definitely not a great sign here. And that is really quite something how it fits in with that dams chart. Now I did look at the perigee when the comet was closest to Earth. This chart is now calculated for the dams coordinates. Again, we have Ceres here and Nessus exactly at the 7th house cusp. Interesting also this axis of 13 degrees Virgo. If we go back to the Chinese chart, that's where Saturn is in the Chinese nation's birth chart. I'm just picking the most powerful things out of these charts. There's much more, many more layers of information in here. Those of you who would like to get a bit deeper, for example, that Mars square with Hygeia, which also indicates the struggle we have still with health and well-being. The black moon, that whole time it was discovered, the comet, when it was at 6-7 degrees Aries, again in opposition to the Chinese nation's sun. And meanwhile the black moon, which is the collective shadow point, it's that place where the moon is farthest away from Earth, which changes all the time. That spot travels about 4 degrees, 3 degrees, 4 degrees a month. Takes 9 months to traverse one sign, or 9 years to do a full round through the zodiac. So in the Chinese nation's chart, you have the black moon, that shadow point at 18 degrees Aries. So we are exactly in that neighborhood here, 19. So this is the lunar return now for the Chinese nation for early August. And guess what? Again, the 13th degree of Virgo, Pisces, shows up. When there's repetitions like that, you can be sure something is manifesting along that line. That's my understanding. I have done lots of studies in mundane astrology and event-related astrology. That is always the signpost when there's repeated charts which show you the same thing, the same energies exalted, if you want. So again, 13 degrees 16 is the ascendant here of the lunar return of China for early August, with the moon at 3 degrees 10 Aquarius. And if we quickly go back to the birth chart, you see the 3 degrees 10 Aquarius moon and the 1308 Virgo Saturn. Again, there's much more in this chart. I really just pick the raisins out, so to say, the high points, if you want. The 8th house, that's really not looking nice at all. That shows that there's some big disaster looming, with Chiron here at the cusp and Mars, the black moon, in here. If we go on to the Jupiter-Pluto conjunction, which is just coming up heliocentrically tomorrow exact. Now, Jupiter and Pluto are two large planets, and it takes about 13 years for Jupiter to pull up again with Pluto to realign in a new place. 26 years ago, roughly, that was the initiation of the building of this dam. That was in 1994 December, when we had a heliocentric Jupiter-Pluto conjunction. Actually, I looked into this a little more in detail, and if we do secondary progressions, that's the central key every astrologer uses, which is 1 day after birth, translates for 1 year in the person's life or in anything you make a chart for. So in this context would be the dam. So if we do the secondary progressions and use the heliocentric alignments, then in 2006, that means about 13 years or 13 days after the start of the construction, Jupiter and Pluto had their heliocentric alignment, and this translated to in 2006 in fall. For the first time, the dam was filled, was totally full with water, and early 2007, the hydroelectric power production started. So that shows again that Jupiter-Pluto is a central part of the signature of this dam, and Jupiter and Pluto certainly are excessive power. It's a signature which is also showing in out of control growth, wild cards, something fast and furiously shifting, huge waves. These are just a few of the keywords I kind of wrote down here to give you for the Jupiter-Pluto connection. Now it is interesting that just tomorrow, again, Jupiter and Pluto will have a heliocentric conjunction, and this chart again is calculated for the dam's coordinates. And look who's up here in the exact midheaven position, Neptune. Neptune is representing water, naturally. It's the scorpionic dwad of Pisces. The degrees 20 to 2230 are having a scorpionic subnode. This is based on fractals. Each sign in that sense is a contains all the 12 signs in its, is a kind of a seed, as everything is holographic in nature. So the first 2.5 degrees are fully Pisces, then the second 2.5 are Pisces, Aries, and so on. So the degrees 20 to 2230 are having that scorpionic subnode. And so this will be the moment when this energy is most poignantly aligned, these two planets. And I just want to show you here the ascendant at this moment will be 552 Cancer. Now in my earlier video I already pointed out it would be August 9 when the moon will again be at that powerful spot of being farthest away from Earth. Now those of you who look closely will see there's a slight discrepancy here. There is the black moon at 2152 and the moon here in this chart is at 2414. The reason for this is the black moon is the mean lunar apogee. That means it's kind of the axis around which the moon's orbit dances, whereas the exact spot at the moment the moon will be farthest away from Earth is at 2414 Aries, which is also called the osculating lunar apogee. So I'm using both. It seems most strongly, however, is the mean position, as it's the axis around which the moon is waving the moon's orbit, kind of the central axis. And as you see, this made me at first suspicious that this would be a very difficult time. Mars is almost exactly conjunct that spot, which in itself is looming for something really dark and difficult to happen. For example, when the Fukushima event went off, that was the same configuration. Also in Aries, that was in the early degrees. That is just giving you a little bit of correlation of the energies. The moon is approaching here a square with Saturn. That's very difficult too. Square with Pluto. And is pretty exactly conjunct Eris, which is also a shaker, an energy which reshuffles, which brings a new hierarchy of events, if you want, of reality, a reshuffling reality. Then last year I want to show you well, okay, I didn't really make my point here. I wanted to say this. You see, when Jupiter and Pluto tomorrow will be most exactly aligned in the heliocentric system from the Sun, seen from the Sun, that is the energy we receive on Earth, as the Sun's energy is changing every moment slightly. It's the photons which carry that energy, bring it to us, which make us survive. If the sun would stop shining, it would be dark here within 8 minutes, and we would pretty much within hours the planet would be dead. So we are intrinsically connected with solar energy. So the sun's photons are carrying these quantum codes which bring the energy here to us. That's why the heliocentric is always the purely energetic picture, whereas the geocentric is showing you how the planets are materially manifesting around Earth, how they're impacting us on the more denser levels. So anyway, the heliocentric alignment of Jupiter and Pluto is putting the seed in place, and then look what this degree shows up when the moon is farthest away from Earth, exactly at the 4th house cusp. It couldn't be more exact, 552. So I was thinking what that means. It means that the energy which is seeded tomorrow will be fully manifesting on the 9th of August in the evening. That will be, and most likely my understanding is it's maybe a few hours later when that whole thing will give in. And so it's really, we have to get the word out. We should ask everyone to share this and to have as many people alerted so they can get to a safe place before this all goes off. Last, I have here one more chart to share with you, again for the same location, the dams coordinates. That is on August 7 when Mars changes hexagrams. That's again another system I'm using, which overlays the 64 I Ching hexagrams around the zodiac. At 20 degrees 45 is the start of a new hexagram, which is hexagram 42, which is called increase. It is pushing the levels up to a higher strength. And it is interesting that Mars and the Black Moon both are in this exuberant energetic place of bold force. So at the moment when this energy is activated, again we have the 14th degree this time of Virgo rising, another indication that the Chinese nation's Saturn is becoming fully activated, and Ceres and Neptune here with the moon, another indication, Neptune and Ceres here flanking the descendant, Nessus again close by, T-squaring the IC, the MC axis. So there's a whole bunch of indications, and I'm really just sharing you the most outstanding. There's a whole bunch more going on. I'm very convinced this is happening. There's many people who say the same thing. They might not be pointing exactly to the same time and date, but I'm again urging this message to be put out, and that many people get the warning and can get themselves to a safe place. Every life you can save is highly valuable. So again, thanks for tuning in, listening, and hopefully you can help me bring that word out. Have a wonderful day. Love you all. Thank you.